Week 8 in the National Football League. You are watching Dexter Reed and World of Matchups when we break down every single game on the NFL slate Sunday and Monday night. On my other side of the glass, my A1 from day one, my producer, co-founder of World of Matchups, Mr. Spencer the Wiz. Spencer, say what's up to the people.
I'm good. Yeah, nothing much. My Sunday doesn't have to be ruined this week, which is always nice because I don't have to watch the Raiders play until Monday. It's kind of a relieving feeling, the bye week and then also Monday Night Football where I don't have to watch them lose at 10 a.m. and just wallow for the rest of the day.
Oh, God, the Raiders are so bad, but we'll get to them in a minute. Only thing worse than the Raiders right now in the National Football League are these refs, and I'm going to go on a little diatribe about them, but this Week 8 session of World of Matchups will be called the Blind Ref Edition. Let's get started breaking these games down, Spencer. 10 a.m., first games. The Jacksonville Jaguars head to the Steel City of Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers, who I told everybody that would listen last week on my upset special that the Steelers were going to at least be in that game, if not win it, and that's exactly what happened. Now they are home. They are home dogs. Steelers getting 2.5 from the Jacksonville Jaguars. This one actually kept me up at night trying to figure out what was going to happen with this game. And this is a tricky one because we really haven't seen the Jags be the Jags that we saw last year come back from 4 touchdowns down versus the Chargers in a playoff game. We haven't seen it yet. We thought we were going to get that team with Calvin Ridley, who has been very mid after blowing up week 1. The only consistent part of their team to this point has been Travis Etienne, who I think will have a very difficult time running on the Steeler defense, who's going to be galvanized off this big win at home. Get Deontay Johnson back. Kenny Pickett can do some work versus this defense. The secondary is their Achilles heel. I think that they will do a good job of containing Najee Harris, but this is the type of game that is a 3-point game either way. And when I have games like this, I tend to take the home dogs here. I'm going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers again for a second straight week because they came up so big for me last week. I can't now flush them. I have to show them some love. George Pickens is at any time a ticking time bomb waiting to go off. This guy is a great, great player. And Trevor Lawrence has got a knee injury. I mean, he's more than questionable. He's going to play, and he played decent versus the Saints last week, and they've had some time off to rest. But Jacksonville is just kind of like Buffalo Light. You don't know which Jags team you're going to get. One week, they win 2 in a row in London, and then the next thing you know, they're like getting beat up at home and they can't score a touchdown versus the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, they are so bipolar as well. They forget to take their meds. I think the play this week is the Steelers plus the 2.5. Steelers stink, but they play hard at home, and their defense is still very, very good. They're not going to be able to run on this defense. I really don't think so. Take the Steelers and take them with confidence.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and agree with you there. I mean, the Jaguars don't really move the needle for me. It looks like the Steelers are getting a little bit of momentum. Their offense has woken up a little bit, so I think the bye week was really beneficial to them. Normally, I'm not a fan of a early season bye week, just for like any team in general, because I feel like, you want to save it later in so you can get your injuries in place. But yeah, the Steelers really needed one, right? So I like them at home. I think they're a really strong team at home. And I don't know, just it does seem though every time I have a confidence in the Steelers this is the week that they have a real bad stinker. But I'd be pretty surprised. But I'll just like you, at the end of the day, they are home dogs, and that's what I'll go with here. I'll take the Steelers, not with a bunch of confidence, but with a little bit.
Yeah, this is the type of game that like you'll think that the Jacksonville Jaguars will show up big, and they absolutely will just disappear. Maybe this will be too long of a layoff after that Thursday night game. Next, the New York Jets take on the New York Giants in the Battle of New York. We share a stadium. We'll share the field on Sunday. Daniel Jones again is out with a broken neck. I mean, my goodness. You want to waste $40 million. I don't think you could waste it any worse than you've wasted it on Daniel Jones. Jets coming off a bye, coming off 2 humongous wins at home versus the Eagles and on the road at Denver. They take on the the New York Football Giants here, who, even though I took them last week to win and they did show up, I just kind of felt like that was a gimme. The Jet defense is a different animal, and I know Zach Wilson's not great, but the emergence of Breece Hall here is going to be enough for me to take the Jets and take them to cover here. Tyrod Taylor is actually could probably be your starting quarterback for the New York Giants because Daniel Jones stinks, but he doesn't galvanize anything in me at all. I mean, Saquon's going to have a hard time finding running room. It's going to be everything getting dump offs in the backfield. And who are the wide receivers, man? Darren Waller is so mid, it's not even funny. Isaiah Hodgins, Wan'Dale Robinson, these guys are going up against Sauce Gardner and company. I'm just not feeling the Giants here. I know it's going to be a 50-50 split of fans, but the more galvanizing fan base is by far and away the Jets. They're coming in, feeling good. You know, the freight train is now running. They feel like, wow, we actually have done this without Aaron Rodgers. The Giants are not going to stop us here. I'm going to lay the 3 points here as road dogs in their own building, and I'm going to take the Jets, Jets, and I'm going to take them with confidence. Dude, the Giants stink.
Yeah. Oh, man. Something just seems so weird about this game. So fishy. I can't explain what it is, and I can't even really tell you one specific part of the game where it makes me feel that way, but I'm going to go with the Giants. It's kind of like a gut reaction, and I'm just going to follow my gut on this one. On paper, the Jets should win, but also Zach Wilson's throwing the ball on the other end, and that just doesn't give me any level of confidence. And I think Tyrod Taylor gives me a little bit more, although I could easily just see the Jets getting like 3 turnovers on defense and ending this game too. That's why I think it's the Jets. But again, I have something in my gut that tells me the Giants are going to play a really good game, and it's just going to be a terrible Zach Wilson game. So anything can happen. And also, I think both of those things can happen. I think Tyrod Taylor and Zach Wilson might have a stink-off on Sunday. I'll give a little bit of the edge to my gut and the home team, the Giants here. But, yeah, this is not going to be a pretty game.
No, it's not. And you got to listen to your gut, man. I finally listened to my gut last week and almost brought me double-digit wins. Some of these that sound crazy aren't so crazy once the ball is kicked on Sunday. Yeah. So you never know, but we'll split on that. Next, the Houston Texans, they fly to Carolina coming off their bye. They're minus 3.5. This is the battle of first and second round rookie quarterbacks here. This is going to be the C.J. Stroud Bowl, in my opinion. I think they'll have no problem handling Carolina here. Carolina's offensive line stinks. Their defense stinks. You can run all over them. I know Dameon Pierce hasn't been great yet, but I think this is a get-right spot for him. Devin Singletary has been very, very good as well. Nico Collins. They got Tank Dell. They have weapons. Dalton Schultz. They just have a better team than Carolina. They just do, man. Bryce Young is going to be great, but they just don't have enough for him. I mean, if they can control Adam Thielen in this game, this is a game they should win by double digits. I don't like Carolina at all anywhere, and I'm not going to continue to bet against them until they win and cover versus me. I just cannot see in my right mind any way that they win this game. 3.5 isn't enough. I think it should be 5. Personally, I think C.J. Stroud knows that he should have gone first, and I think he's going to show everybody why on Sunday.
I think this artificial processed food that I eat at school is starting to get to my head because I think Carolina is going to win their first game of the season. There is a factor to the desperation combined with the fact that they're coming off of a bye week. Something about it just hits me the wrong way. I think I'm going to take Carolina at home. They're going to get their first win of the season. It's not like the Texans are world beaters by any sense of the imagination. Carolina also still has a very good defense. I think they're getting tired at the end there from losing so much and Bryce Young stinking. That's the kind of thing that you hope would get a little fixed in the bye week. I think they're going to play a very polished game. Give me Carolina for their first win of the season.
Kill me. Go, Spencer, go. Yikes. This actually could be a good game if you're just looking at the quarterback play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because, like, how often do you see first and second picks get to face each other in the same season? You really don't. So this kind of could be entertaining from that standpoint. There is some credence to what you're saying, but I just haven't seen that offensive line be able to protect Bryce Young. And neither one of these quarterbacks have really run yet. Why, I don't know. If C.J. Stroud starts taking off when the pocket breaks down, There's no chance that the freaking Panthers win this game. I just can't see it. Next, the New England Patriots upset special last week came through for me. Belichick, you are back in my good graces. They go to Miami to take on the Dolphins. The Dolphins are minus 9.5, coming off a rough loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. Look, if the Dolphins are serious about being contenders in this league, this is a game that they win 31-13. But I'm going to take the Patriots again. 9.5 in the National Football League is too much for a team coming off a humongous win who is now feeling good about turning their season around potentially with one of the greatest head coaches in the National Football League history. I cannot tell you how many times I have watched Bill Belichick take Tyreek Hill out of games. It's a thing. And the Miami Dolphins might be looking ahead to next week when they take on the Kansas City Chiefs in Germany. It's a thing. It's definitely a thing, folks. Defense wins championships. Mac Jones stinks, yes. But are they really going to be able to run on New England here? Now, Tua has been really, really good. I am not to the point where I'm ready to give Tua that engraved apology that everyone's begging me for. But this is a really good defense, even without Judon and Gonzalez. You saw what they did last week. They took the Bills apart. Now, I know the Bills are frauds, but is Miami that real in an opportunity to put yourself on the map Sunday night? And they did nothing. Now, they got jobbed on a lot of calls for sure, but for some reason, I think 9.5 is too much here, man. I really do. This is a division game. The Patriots are a proud, storied franchise. I don't think they lay down here. You can run on the Dolphins. You can throw on the Dolphins. And I personally think that they're forcing Jalen Ramsey back far too soon. The play is New England plus 9.5.
Oh, man. One of us is going to have a great week, and one of us is going to have a really bad week. I kind of have the same opinion as I did last week in that I just don't think the Patriots are a good football team. Division games are always weird, but I think Miami is going to get on track here. That game ended up being really weird, too, for the Bills, and I just don't trust the Bills. If the Bills have a bad game, it's because of their own fault, I feel. So I just think that Miami is going to be able to score all over them. Without Matthew Judon and without Christian Gonzalez, they were able to get over it last week against the Bills, but the Bills kind of stink whenever they feel like it. I think the Dolphins are going to blow them out of the water. There's just something about it that I think everyone's going to be on New England this week because of how well they played. But I also remember the game they played against the Raiders, and they played against Brian Hoyer, and they looked terrible too. They let them march right down the field. Give me Miami Dolphins, who are really good at stretching the field, and I think you come up with a recipe of like a 27-17 type of game.
Sounds good. Spencer has spoken. Next, the Atlanta Falcons minus 2.5. They go to Tennessee to take on the touchdown Titans. I told everybody who would listen to me last week. I had a good week last week, man. I told everybody, I'm like, you guys keep sleeping on the Falcons. The Falcons are this year's Lions. Last year, I told everyone the Lions were going to win 7 to 9 games. And this year, the Falcons are going to win 7 to 9 games. And they're doing it. Think about this. They're doing this with bum-ass Desmond Ridder. Desmond Ridder needs to step back and just drink like an ice-cold glass of hot dog water because he is terrible. Terrible. They win despite him, okay? So they win that game at Tampa, and Bijan Robinson has 1 carry. All week long, people are calling this guy a pussycat. He's going to take that to heart, man. Arthur Smith is going to unleash this guy this weekend. I'm telling you. Now, normally I would take the home dog in Tennessee here, but Tennessee's open for business, man. We all know this, okay? Derrick Henry is going to be traded. I wouldn't be surprised if DeAndre Hopkins is traded too. They're going to gut this team like a fish. If Will Levis is the answer, dude, what is the question? They're going to start this kid versus a very good secondary. A.J. Terrell is more than serviceable. I don't love Atlanta for the second straight week, but when you have a kicker named Younghoe Koo who can kick it out the building, 3 points, covers, I'm going to take the Falcons again, man. Kyle Pitts has slowly been getting better and better every single week. Drake London has been getting better and better every single week. They spell Robinson with Algier. They have a decent football team. The problem with their team is the quarterback stinks. He stinks. Desmond Ridder is a backup at best. I would not be surprised to see Taylor Heineke get in this game if Ridder starts off slow for the third straight week, throws a pick or something gets taken to the crib, he's going to be out of there. Arthur Smith has to do something about this guy because the Falcons literally could be a playoff team if they had a decent quarterback. I mean, he's Marcus Mariota 4.0. He's the same quarterback. But I just don't see enough in Tennessee right now outside of them showcasing talent to be traded before Halloween to take them here. Every time I've taken Tennessee, they've screwed me. And every time I take the Falcons lately, they've come through. So I'm going to continue the trend and say Falcons minus the 2.5. And I'm going to say lay it with confidence, man. Will Levis is overrated. I don't care what anyone says. And Malik Willis stinks. What kind of home field advantage do they have in Tennessee? That team has done nothing since they lost to Kansas City the year the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. And that, my friends, is all I'm going to say about that. They're terrible.
Well, Malik Willis playing in that game last week tells me everything I need to know about Will Levis. I don't even trust the kid to get out there as the backup. So, yeah, it's just and this one we do agree with each other. I think the Falcons are just a much better team overall. And, yeah, like the fire sale's already starting. You get rid of one of the best safeties in the league, and you give him to the Eagles. If the GM from the Eagles, his name's Howie, I think, right?
Howie Roseman is one of the best GMs in the history of the NFL, what he's done with this team.
If he calls me, if I'm a GM and he calls me, I'm not picking up because it's never going to end up well for you.
You're going to get fleeced.
Yeah, it's like a blind robbery, and you're not even going to know what happened. And I think that's exactly what happened. And I think Derrick Henry's next. And that just, it just goes down into the locker room. I cannot imagine it doesn't. I'm not in there, but come on, one after the other, your best players start to go down. You already hear all the rumors. You just signed DeAndre Hopkins. You're already shopping them. What does it say about everyone else? So
Derrick Henry to the Cowboys. Let's go.
Yeah, it's all terrible. Give me the Falcons here. And I could also see too, if Desmond Ridder starts slow, because everyone in Falcon Nation knows that this is a game that they should be winning pretty, not handily, but they shouldn't be sweating this one. And if a couple picks to start the game, every fan in Atlanta is thinking about Taylor Heineke.
Get Desmond Ridder off the field, man. I'm telling you, I have a hate relationship with no other quarterback in the NFL like this guy. He absolutely stinks. And it sucks because they win despite him, and you have to take them here. I just cannot. I was trying to think of a reason all week long to take Tennessee, and I couldn't come up with one. And I'm not saying Mike Vrabel needs to be fired or nothing. His cupboard is bare. And now they're going to get rid of Derrick Henry. Sorry, Titans, I can't do it. Next. Upset special, Vikings at Packers. I told everybody, you all laughed at me all week long, man. And I told you the Vikings were going to find a way to beat the Niners. I knew they were going to be in that game. I smelled that like a good pot of gumbo cooking. I was like, dude, there's no way they're not going to play hard versus this team that's banged up and laid down. And that's exactly what happened. Now they are flying to Green Bay to take on the underachieving, lifeless Green Bay Packers. But I'm here to tell you right now, going in the door, -1, the Packers are gonna take that 1 point at home, and they're gonna win this game. The Vikings stink. I'm sorry, they're not good like people think. I know they've won 2 in a row without JJ, and I know everyone thinks that JJ is gonna come back and they're gonna make the playoffs. Dude, JJ is gonna come back in time for them to miss the playoffs. Big facts. Take that, put it in your pipe and smoke it. I'm telling you, the Packers are better than people think in their building. I saw Dallas go there a couple of years ago and get murked. They're going to play well. They're getting healthy. The linchpin, the X factor, the thing that people are forgetting about here is that Aaron Jones has not been healthy since week 1. Week 1. It's week 8. So they're going to get this guy involved. A.J. Dillon's going to be involved. The Minnesota freaking run D is deplorable. Christian Watson is going to play. Romeo Doubs is still good. Musgrave is iffy. He's iffy. Jair Alexander is iffy. They're both on the other side of questionable. But if those guys play, I think the Packers at home is an absolute lock. I'm sorry. I don't trust Kirk Cousins to be Kirk Thuggins 2 weeks straight. I'll give him 1 week. And I told y'all he turns into Kirk Thuggins when they protect him versus good teams. I've watched this a million times. You guys got duped by this Kirk Cousins under the lights nonsense. It's real, but it's real situationally. I've had Kirk Cousins in fantasy millions of times, and I've watched his splits. This is the type of game that he goes into, and everyone's going to be like, oh, the Vikings, they look so good. Oh, the Vikings. Nope. I'm telling you right now, Green Bay is going to win this game, and they're going to win this game outright. Take them with confidence at home and eat a cheesesteak. Let's go.
Yeah, I agree with you. I refuse to believe that the Packers can put together that many bad performances in a row. They're not a horrible football team. I feel like they have really good weapons. And I think a big part of it is that they just rely so much on Aaron Jones because he is really good. Like, definitely one of the most underrated running backs in the NFL. Like, they do rely on him quite frequently. You know what I mean? And when he's not there, you got a young quarterback. It's not great. And I think he's finally getting healthier. I think they can start stretching the field more. And then, like pretty much exactly the way that you put it up. Everyone is going to be on the Vikings saying, oh, they beat the 49ers last week. There's no way they're going to lose. And this is just the kind of game where, that just sets them up for failure. These are the kind of games that have defined Kirk Cousins' career, in my opinion.
Big fact. Yep. So, this is a manhole waiting for you guys to fall in and lose all your money. I'm telling you. And all Jordan Love has to do, honestly, is just not play hero ball. Dude, you're not Brett Favre. You're not Aaron Rodgers. Stop trying to be those guys. Be Jordan Love. Take what the defense gives you. Use your legs. Calm down. And we'll stop putting you in the same like of Desmond Ridder. You're better than Desmond Ridder. Come on, Jordan Love. Prove me wrong this week and show up here for me. World of Matchups has spoken. And this is my best bet. Let's double down on it. This is my best bet. For all you frauds out there that think I'm playing games up in here. All right? Let's go, Packers. Let's go. Next. I told you guys this is the beginning of the end of the fall of the Rams. Didn't want to listen, and you let Pittsburgh shit in your mouth. I told you. So I'm going to double down on that, and you're going to fly to the Cowboys here. Cowboys -6 at home off a bye. What? Distractions taking place in LA all of a sudden. They can't run the ball. The corpse of Darrell Henderson is your starting running back. You put the guy in the practice squad only to bring him back. McVay has a baby. Distraction. Kelly Stafford is going at Blueface. Distraction. You're going to go into Dallas and you're going to get murked. You're going to get your doors blown off this week. I'm telling you straight up going in the door. A Dallas defense is going to go nuts this week. They're going to be all over Matthew Stafford. I said it last week, and I'm going to double down on it and say it again. I do not see Matthew Stafford staying healthy all year long. I just do not see it. I'm sorry. I know Puka is God. I know Cooper Kupp is God, but Cooper Kupp had a very mid-game last week versus a hot dog water secondary outside of Minka Fitzpatrick, and they didn't even double him. They didn't even travel. What do you think they're going to do this week in Dallas? And Dallas knows they got to get a W to stay in the hunt here. I see this as a resounding Cowboy victory. 31-21, something like that. I love the Cowboys this week. I think they run all over the Rams. The Rams are not the same team away from SoFi. This is well-known, documented facts. And if they could just hold Cooper Kupp down, how are the Rams going to score? How are they going to score? I think CeeDee Lamb has a humongous game this weekend. When has the last big CeeDee Lamb game been? It's been a while, man. Even Stephon Diggs and A.J. Brown, they have those like 3-tutty, 130-yard, 10-catch games. CeeDee Lamb hasn't had one of those for a minute. And watch Jake Ferguson in this game, another guy, a very quiet tight end people sleep on. I love Dallas here. I think the Rams are in trouble. Take Dallas -6 and go to Sizzler.
I am going to roll with the idea that the Steelers are as good as I think they are. And I'm going to say that the Rams lost a tough game to a good Steelers team. I don't like the Cowboys. Not without Trayvon Diggs. For some reason, that just sticks in my mind. I feel like they've had a few key injuries that are going to end up hurting them really badly. And also Dak Prescott just is not very good. The whole Tony Pollard thing was supposed to be an explosion, but I haven't seen it yet so far. And they're already looking to replace the running back position here. Like you said, I think they're like one of the prime candidates for Derrick Henry. So last year, all they could talk about was Tony Pollard. And now
he's too small. He's too small.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take the Rams here. And I just think that their offense is going to be able to get going. And Yeah, that's just kind of how I feel. There's something weird about it. Again, my gut is telling me that the Rams are going to be able to just explode offensively. I just don't think the Cowboys, they had this big identity at the beginning of the season, and they lose one of their best players. But I think this changes the dynamic. I think Trayvon Diggs is like a maniac out there. Like him and Micah Parsons are just something that you can't even look for. Like they're so chaotic in the way that they do it. So I'm going to take the Rams, say they have a really great offensive game after almost breaking through against the Steelers.
Nice. I like that we disagree, man. And we both come with facts. Too many of you guys are out there betting on emotions. You have to come with facts, dude. Look at film. Look at tape. We watch hours of tape at World of Matchups. Don't throw your money down the toilet without knowing trends. Next. Big time game in the NFC East. Eagles go to Washington to take on the Commanders. They are -7. This is tricky because last year, this year, and coming up this week, I'd be one to say that the Commanders would cover because they covered last year, took the Eagles down and gave them their first loss. They covered this year. I told you that they were going to cover this year in Philly, and they almost won the game. And now they're home. So the trend would be to take Washington plus the 7 at home in that horrendous stadium. But like I told you last week, I'm trying to do things differently here, Spencer. I'm trying to see things for what they are. I think the Eagles know that they got away with a lot of calls last week. I mean, how does one team have 10 penalties and the other team has 0 penalties? The NFL is in bad shape referee-wise. That's number one. I think that the Eagles are going to really hit a stride coming up here because they got some tough games coming up. And this is not the type of game that you can hang around in a lollygag and stay in with this team. I think their defense asserts their will, and I think they win this game by double digits. I think the Commanders are horrible. They're a coverable team. They can cover for you, but they're not going to win out very often versus good teams. The last time I took them at home with any kind of confidence and points, the bipolar Bills went there and won 37-3. Sam Howell is a very horrible version of Brett Favre. They just throw the ball all over the place. I know Eric Bieniemy has helped this team, but they're going to have a hard time running on that Eagles front four. I think DeAndre Swift is really good. A.J. Brown is having a Randy Moss type of season. The tush push works every single time, and Jalen Hurts hasn't really run yet. So there's a whole lot of things that are brewing for the Philadelphia Eagles, and the pot is all ready to explode. I mean, dinner's ready here. You know what I mean? And this is not a long trip to Washington, and there's going to be Eagles fans there. All these things mixed together equal to me a resounding Eagle W. Normally, I would take them to cover. I'm not taking Washington to cover this time. I think they get destroyed. Eagles 34, Washington 21.
Yeah, this is my best bet of the week. Like my bestest best bet of the week. That front four for the Eagles is
massive.
Going to absolutely decimate Washington.
They're going to mob.
I think Sam Howell is on a historic pace for the amount of sacks. I don't remember the number, but it's a number that you would not believe. It's like 30 sacks or something stupid like that against Sam Howell. You think about that, and now you think that about the Eagles front four. This is going to be absolute domination on absolute every level. If there is this prop bet for sacks for like the defense or like Jalen Carter over 1.5 sacks, something like that, I'm going to put a lot of money on it because I cannot imagine that Washington, which is the worst offensive line in the NFL, it doesn't play their worst game of the season against the Eagles. It's the ultimate like matchup nightmare for Washington, and unfortunately, they're going to have to play them twice a year. So, 7 points is not enough for me, not even close.
Yeah, I agree, man. The Eagles, man, they're a very good team. They're a strong team. Whoever has the home field in the playoffs, whether it's San Francisco, Dallas, or Philadelphia, is going to go to the Super Bowl because you're not going to Philadelphia in December and January and winning. It's just not happening. They look really, really good. I really wasn't happy about a lot of the missed calls that went their way, but they would have won that game anyway. And I just think that there's a couple teams that get better every week. Philadelphia is one of them. I don't really trust Hurts like I would trust Mahomes yet. But they're on their way, man. Philly is showing you that no matter what, they're getting back to the Super Bowl if it kills them. And I think Sirianni's done a good job so far. I'm going to take them -7, and I'm going to take them with confidence as well. Next, who dat? Who dat flies to Indianapolis -2 And I think Gardner Minshew watched World of Matchups last week and got upset. You know what I mean? And he busted out his high school film of when he was really good, and he had his Wheaties, and he went out and he put up a stellar performance and shut me up for the time being. But I don't think that is enough still for me to take the Colts here as home dogs. I think the Saints are just a better team, man. They're just better. Gardner Minshew is – look, every dog has their day. You know what I mean? He had his day last week. This is a better defense. The Saints defense is a very good defense, and they're coming off a very bad loss. Now, I know Derek Carr stinks, but they still have very good pieces there. Olave with the whole freaking speeding thing. He knows he has to redeem himself. Michael Thomas is still okay. Kamara is better than okay. They just have a better secondary. I mean, can you really keep the heat off Minshew with that offensive line? Indianapolis doesn't have a great home field. I'm not feeling them at all. Field goal wins the bet. I'm going to go ahead and take the Saints here. I could see someone's rationale for taking the Colts here. I really can, because the Saints aren't a great road team. But coming off a loss with a long week, I think that they'll do enough to dial up some stunts and some blitzes to keep Gardner Minshew at bay. I mean, the guy is a backup. He is a backup. And he's a backup for a reason. Do they love his moxie? Yes. But are they going to let this guy run all over them? It's a different defense, folks. That was last week. This is this week. Styles make fights in the NFL. And the Saints, they swing uppercuts, man. And I think they're going to knock the Colts out of this game. No problem. I could see Minshew not even finishing this game, quite frankly. I'd say 5 to 7 points Saint win. Let's go.
Yeah, I'll take the Saints too, just because they are a better team. But man, Derek Carr tries his best to keep the other team in the game. You know, it's like it really is the same thing as last year. It just plays with a much better defense, so the games are just naturally closer. But oh man, as a Raiders fan, you know, it's just a different perspective for me, I guess, when I watch Derek Carr play, because you can already see the same conversations happening online that Raiders fans have been having for 3 years.
10 years.
About who's the backup, how much does he make? You know what I mean? Like, it's terrible. And it's just the Derek Carr experience, man. It's just maddening. He'll throw the worst pick six you ever seen, and then he'll throw the greatest seam pass to put them back in the game.
Yep.
It's just what he does, man. He's just not a consistent quarterback. He just makes really weird decisions at the worst possible times, and then some like random thing will happen, and suddenly it's a 3-point game, and he's going down the field to try to win it. But yeah, I mean, Gardner Minshew just isn't very good. The Saints defense is easily one of the best in the league, and then that's the only thing. I mean, if they had a bad defense, this would be one of the worst teams in the NFL. Like, Derek Carr just isn't that good, like, obviously. And you know, like, even thinking about the end of this game right here, the Jaguars Saints game, it was 24-9. And the Saints didn't budge for the rest of the game. I mean, that's just how good they are and the kinds of things that they can do. So, yeah, I mean, I think Gardner Minshew makes a few mistakes, but if Derek Carr throws another pick six, it wouldn't surprise me at all. But in terms of betting, I'll take the Saints here.
We are in agreement. Next, the Browns, they head to Seattle to take on the Seahawks, who are -3.5. Are the Browns the surprise team of the year? I mean, I think they kind of have to be at 4-2. I mean, they escaped and got a win versus the Niners and won again. I mean, they're playing good football. I mean, they lose Nick Chubb. Deshaun Watson is in, he's out, he's in, he's out. I mean, this has 0-6, 1-6 written all over it, and they're more than hanging in there. I mean, right now, I mean, Stefanski has to be in the Coach of the Year conversation. I mean, he has to. How can he not? You know, the defense is quietly, like you said last week, man. Flowers need to be raining down on that defense, and they're really kind of not. I mean, they're making it happen with smoke and mirrors and, you know, paper mache pieces back there. Jerome Ford, the ghost of Kareem Hunt. I mean, these guys are actually getting it done. Njoku, I mean, the corpse of freaking Amari Cooper, Lazarus Cooper. I mean, they're getting it done. Conversely, I'm not sold on Seattle, man. And I'm not sure that they should have paid Geno Smith. I know they're winning, but Ken Walker is winning a lot of those games. He came up kind of lame, even though he's off the injury report. But they got a lot of guys who are iffy, who one play they could be out of this game. Walker's one, Charbonnet's another who was on the injury report. DK Metcalf's going to play, but he's been banged up. Tyler Lockett's going to play, but he's been banged up. The whole offense has been on the injury list. Now, P.J. Walker doesn't galvanize anyone, and the Seattle defense has been playing fantastic. You would think that Seattle would steamroll this team, right? I could see them winning this game by 3 points. I'm going to take the Browns plus 3.5. Kareem Hunt's going to start. I could see Myles Garrett being all over Geno Smith. I could see the under in this game happening easily. I think that's the best bet here. These teams are going to fight to score because they both stink offensively, really. I mean, quite frankly, if Seattle scores 20 points, they throw a parade. I mean, they're not great. And so when you have two teams that play good D, you're going to want to take the home team, but I don't like that hook. If you're scared of it, buy the half point. But something's telling me Cleveland's going to stay in this game. I don't think they'll win, but I'm thinking they're going to lose by less than 3.5. Here we go, Brownies. Here we go, woof, woof.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think this is going to be the game that P.J. Walker shows why he was playing in the XFL not too long ago. Like, not to say the guy hasn't earned a spot on an NFL team, and he's played, good enough to win them a couple games here. But I don't know. Seattle just seems better. They have a very good defense, and I think, the Browns opened it up a little bit offensively or defensively. The Colts able to have a lot of success there. I think Seattle can do enough here to make it happen as long as DK Metcalf plays and everyone's healthier. And that's the thing I hate about the NFL is that the injury list has just been broken.
Tags are stupid.
What happened to probable, doubtful, questionable? Those things used to really mean something, and now
they don't mean nothing now.
This guy's questionable. He might play, which is such a broad range, and it's it's hard to assess the games at that point. I hope they go back and change it at some point, but
don't hold your
assuming
breath.
Seattle is playing their guys, you know what I mean, and that they're healthy enough to play, I'm going to take Seattle here just because. I don't really have a lot of confidence in P.J. Walker. He didn't play great last week. I think he had two really bad interceptions, and I think the Seahawks can do him off. I think that their offense is better than the Colts, surely, and I don't think they'll make as many mistakes. So, I'm going to take Seattle here at home.
Yeah, I like it. Jamal Adams, questionable, most overrated defensive player in the history of the league. I had to get that in. Next. Cincinnati Bengals coming off a bye. They head to San Francisco. They are plus 4.5. Let me tell you, going in the door right off the bat, man. I got to let you guys know this. I get serious about when it comes to the health of players. So I'm going to take the shades off here and talk to you guys for a second. If they push Brock Purdy into this game, I'm going to have a real problem here. Okay? You guys did this with Tua last year, and you almost got him killed.
Yeah.
World of Matchups, me, Spencer, and anyone affiliated with World of Matchups will never, ever, in any kind of weather, have a problem with a player getting his money. Because the way you guys treat these players are like pawns. There's a plantation piece to what these players are saying about how they're treated by these owners and their coaches and their coaching staff. Brock Purdy was concussed Monday. And he's questionable? Have you guys have you seen Chandler Jones's videos? Have you seen AB's videos? Dude, CTE is real. You're going to get this guy killed. Now, I get that you need to get a dub here. I get it. And I get that Sam Darnold stinks. But I would not play with Brock Purdy's health. To the game. Cincinnati has now been coming on strong. They're coming off their bye, giving some time for people to heal up, like T. Higgins, who has not done well yet, get their game plan intact because they know they're going into a hostile environment. Bang, bang, Niner gang, who I think is in danger of losing 3 games in a row here, quite frankly. And I'm here to tell you, I don't think the Niners are just as good as people think. If they are not 100% healthy, they can't overcome adversity like the Chiefs or like Philly. Those guys can lose pieces and still be okay. And I'm not saying you can lose a Kelsey and be okay, but you hear what I'm saying. No Debo, you saw what happened. It matters. That's a big piece for them. Joe Burrow is healthy now, and I like 4.5 here. You want to give me 4.5 versus a team that was in a Super Bowl not that long ago, I'm going to take it. All they have to do is help him control clock with Joe Mixon, get T. Higgins involved. You know Jamar Chase is going to eviscerate Charvarius Ward. This is well-known facts. I think San Francisco's in trouble here. And I think the worst thing you can do, you're damned if you do, if you're damned if you don't. Because if you start Purdy and you get the guy killed, you'll never hear the end of it. But if you start Sam Darnold, who is hot dog water, you're going to lose 3 in a row. Give me that 4.5 here. I'm going to take the Bengals with confidence here. I know they know that they need to get back into this hunt. The Bengals need to get back into this hunt. No one's talking about the Bengals. Everyone's talking about Miami, Kansas City. Now everyone's talking about the Ravens. And Joe Burrow's like, whoa, I just got paid. Hello? And you're going to see why on Sunday. Take Bengals, take them 4.5 points, take them with confidence, and eat a pizza.
Yeah, I agree with you. And if Brock Purdy is out there, it would be sickening for sure. Because even after that injury came down and he played the rest of the game, I mean, he just looked like he could barely throw the football. I mean, I think he had 2 interceptions to finish that game and just straight up lost it to them. And he got a lot of criticism after the game. And then it comes out, that he got his head knocked in. I mean, come on.
Freaking concussed.
He should have never come back into that game. The NFL says they care about player safety. They don't, obviously.
That blue tent is for show. That blue tent, guys.
There's a lawn chair in there. They sit down for 5 minutes.
Dude, they go in there and they eat a donut. That blue tent is for show. You think I'm joking?
There's a TV in there, and it's Roger Goodell on FaceTime, and he puts up a picture of a color, and if they can identify the color correctly, he's like, all right, son, get your ass back out there.
It's such a sham. You go in there, and there's a picture of Joe Biden. They're like, do you know who that is? And if they answer yes, they go back in the game. It's for show, bro.
It is, and it's kind of gross. So I think that the Bengals are catching their stride, and I do think they're forgotten. The AFC North is always the most entertaining, regardless of how, much you think those teams can win the Super Bowl. Those teams always keep it close, and they always keep the door open for each other. Mm-hmm. And this is the kind of week that the Bengals just push it and get closer and closer to the top. So it always comes down to these division games. It's fun, man. I love the AFC North. It's my second favorite division outside of the Raiders.
Me too.
It is just such a fest,
it's Rocky. It's Rocky and Apollo. They go at it, man.
No one ever really runs away with it, and they always play because they know we have these big division games coming up, and I think the 49ers do look really vulnerable right now. Mm-hmm. They're just trying to figure it out.
They are right for the picking.
As much as there is pressure for Brock Purdy to play and everything, I think they're fine enough with Sam Darnold. I don't think he is the worst. He looked fine in the preseason. It's a very easy system. It's not like he's going to
hand the ball off to McCaffrey 50 times.
It's really just throw it here. You know what I mean? That's really what is so good about the 49ers offense. And that's what made Brock Purdy be able to step in last year, where it's I've kind of done it for you, man. As long as you can throw the football there, then we're going to get yards. It's not going to be enough, though. The Bengals are a serious team. Joe Burrow came limping into the season, and I think as the weeks go on, I think he's learning. He got the ball out of his hands really quickly for a few weeks there where he wasn't really touched. And, their offense looked a little anemic because of it. But I think as the bye week here, as long as he's getting healthier, I think it's going to look more and more like a normal Bengals team.
Mm-hmm. Cincinnati defense is better than you guys think. Definitely. I'm telling you, everyone's going to be on the Niner defense. What happened to the Niner defense on Monday? Hit me up on World of Matchups hotline and answer me that question. I love Cincinnati here, and I hate them all the time. I can't stand them, but I think they are going to cover this 4.5. I feel it in my bones. Next, a game I normally wouldn't lay the wood to. I'm gonna Ravens minus 9.5 to Arizona. I took Arizona last week, and they hung in there, man. They were right there, but at the end they gave it up. They couldn't cover the was it 8? They couldn't cover the 8 for Seattle in a division game, and so I think they limp home here. Kyler Murray is back, but he is doubtful to play because they don't want to put him out there because Joshua Dobbs is playing well, number one, and number two, they really don't like Kyler Murray. They can't wait to get rid of this guy, if we're being perfectly honest, and so he's going to be a healthy scratch. I think that Baltimore is ascending. Colin Cowherd said they are the number 2 team in the NFL right now. I don't know about that, but I will tell you, we nailed it with them eviscerating the Lions. I smell that. Dude, I blinked and it was 28-0. They look really, really good in their building. Normally I wouldn't lay the 9.5, but I'm gonna, just because I think that now you're going to start seeing Lamar be more like the Lamar from the MVP, the unanimous MVP year that he had. Here's the deal with Lamar. I don't like Lamar. And I think he was overpaid, but he's showing everyone right now why they paid him. And I can't hate it, man. I can't hate it. I think the Baltimore defense is very, very good anywhere, and I just don't see the Cardinals staying in this game. I know 9.5 is a lot, but again, I can definitely see the manhole with the trap door for everybody to fall in after taking the Cardinals plus 9.5 here because the Ravens really aren't that good. I don't know. I think they are, man. I think they are. I think on a neutral field right now, there's only maybe 4 or 5 teams that could beat the Ravens right now, if we're being 100% honest. And like the Bengals, everyone's talking about Miami. Everyone's talking about KC. Everyone's talking about San Fran. Everyone's talking about Philly. No one's talking about the Ravens. The Ravens are coming for the respect, folks. And I think you see it here in a resounding beating here. I've been in that stadium. It's a horrible field, and the fan base sucks. Arizona's really, at this point, let it go, Arizona, and play for a pick because you're not going to make the playoffs. So what are you really playing so hard for? I'm not saying lay down, be competitive, but I like Baltimore minus the 9.5 here. It's the biggest spread I'm going to take this week, and I'm going to take them with confidence, to be perfectly honest with you. Mark Andrews goes nuts. Running game goes nuts. Lamar eviscerates. Take it and stamp it.
Yeah, I just think that the Cardinals are starting to circle the name Drake May on their draft board, and you lose another game, and suddenly you're getting much closer to that.
Kyler Murray's gone. He's gone.
Yeah, he's gone. I could see him going to like the Cowboys or something like that. You know, just a team is ready to move on and
Atlanta.
Yeah, exactly. Easily, because Atlanta's going to win too many games to be in the conversation for these top guys. And they're going to want somebody to move them forward
Ritter
because
sucks.
They play their quarterback way. Yeah.
Yep.
So that'll be really interesting to watch. I think that Ravens-Steelers game was a massive wake-up call. It was one of the worst losses I have ever seen in my life, probably. Yeah. That was easily the worst loss of the season for any NFL team in terms of just the way that the game went down. Yeah, I have to give a lot of credit to the new head coach for the Cardinals for even like keeping them motivated to play in these games because they do play hard, and there is a lot of credit that goes towards that because their team is
Steichen's done good, man.
Yeah. So I thought he would be terrible, but I'm going to give him some credit here because when I watched them play, they are going for it. They go for it at the end. They're just lacking the talent necessary to really win any of these football games. I'll take the Ravens here too. It really wouldn't shock me if the Cardinals cover just because of how they played. But, I kind of talk about it every week that it's going to stop at some point. There's only so much beating that you can take and so many losses just as a human being that you're like, I'm sick of this, and there's nothing they could do about it.
There's nothing they could do about it. Yeah. First, he's a first-year head coach, and he's a defensive-minded coach. I mean, Gannon looked horrible coaching in the Super Bowl, but he's gotten those guys – he's gotten a lot out of them. None of us thought that the Cardinals would be as good as they are. I mean, they beat the Cowboys, man. You know what I mean? That's a big win. I mean, I know the Cowboys are, fool's gold from time to time. That's a big win. I just don't see them having enough here. And you get to this point where the trading deadline shows up and you have to decide, are we going to contend or are we going to lay back and get picks? And I like Drake May in Arizona Red. I like that call by you, and I think it could happen. Next, my team. The Kansas City Chiefs. They head to Denver to take on the Denver Broncos. Chiefs -7. The Chiefs have beaten the Denver Broncos 16 straight times. 16 straight times. The last time the Denver Broncos beat Kansas City, I know exactly where I was. And I wasn't living in Las Vegas. President Obama was in office. The iPhone 4 was out. You could still buy a VCR. I mean, dude, this is going on like 8 years now. And I'm here to tell you, folks, it's going to continue. Now, there's 2 schools of thought here. Number one, the Kansas City Chiefs never cover. That lie is dead. That was the last year's Chiefs. This is this year's Chiefs, and they cover every game. And I told you last week that they were going to cover the 5.5, and that's exactly what they did. The emergence of getting Mecole Hardman back on this team was exactly what they needed. He made 2 huge plays in this game that covered that game. And I know the Chargers are hot dog water, but that's still an NFL franchise with a supposed elite quarterback on the other side, and they beat that team to death. Now they go and fly into Mile High -7. I think they cover the 7 here. with ease, honestly. I think the Chiefs are starting to hit their stride. Their defense is great. I know they've lost Nick Bolton, and that's a humongous loss for this defense. But this is exactly why they went out and got Drew Tranquill. Exactly why. They're not going to miss a beat. They're going to blitz Russell Wilson till his nose bleeds. They're going to go after this team. Dude, like Tennessee, Denver is open for business. If Cortland Sutton or Jerry Jeudy does not get traded, I will send Denver an engraved apology on the next show. An engraved apology. It is definitely happening. They're just showcasing talent because the worst trade in the history of the National Football League happened when they got Russell Wilson. He's out of there. Drake May could be on the Broncos next year. Defense is good. They'll play tough at home. The only reason I could see them covering this 7, quite frankly, is that they've just had enough. We have had enough. We're going to go get Terrell Davis. And he's going to make a speech before halftime that's going to galvanize us to cover the 7. But there's no way they're going to win this game. Travis Kelce is an absolute terminator. He caught a ball the other day, man. You're looking at it on the screen here. There was no one within 20 yards of the guy. Was running like it was practice. I mean, this is what the Chiefs do. They scheme better than anyone. And I know Justin Simmons is good. I know Surtain is good. They got good players. Javonte Williams is starting to look good. But are they going to be able to win this game and stay in this game? I highly doubt it, man. If the Chiefs score 30, they're going to cover that 7. No problem. I see 2 picks by the defense. I see 2 sacks by the defense. Dude, Denver stinks, man. Russell Wilson is done. Hang it up, man. Go hang out at Waffle House with your wife and call it a day because your career is over. Chiefs -7 in a rout.
Yeah, I would say because also we talk about this almost every week. The Broncos also haven't beaten the Raiders in almost the same amount of time. It's been like
4 or 5 years.
Yeah. So there's got to be some sort of historical records. I mean, to not beat 2 divisional opponents in like 4 years.
This is the longest streak in professional sports history right now. Currently.
No one really talks
straight.
About. Yeah, everybody talks about the Chiefs Broncos, but the Raiders Broncos too. There's no way against 2 divisional opponents that you haven't won in 4 years. I would go back. I can't believe it. There's no way. But anyways, yeah, it's going to continue here because the Broncos are not a good football team.
They're not.
Russell Wilson's not good. Everyone's getting ready to pack their bags to go to their next destination. They are going all out because they want one of the big quarterbacks, and they're going to make sure that, they do have a lot of really talented players on their team, which is really sickening. Well, it doesn't sicken me. You and I could care less. It's the Broncos. They could be bad forever, and we wouldn't mind. Yeah.
Screw Sean Payton. You think I forgot about Bountygate? Screw you.
Doesn't hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm going to take the Chiefs. I will literally continue to take them until the Broncos take it from them. And if you've been doing that the past 18 games, those are some surefire bets.
Yeah, it's like an anytime touchdown for Christian McCaffrey. You'd be living in your mansion right now, washing your Maserati with your hot wife. Next, Sunday Night Football. The Bears. They head to SoFi to take on the hot dog water Chargers. Chargers -9.5. That's absolutely egregious that they're laying that much versus a team that just won a game that they shouldn't have won. 9.5. Who are the Chargers beating to be 9.5 point favorites? They're 2-5. They're horrible. Are you kidding me? Something tells me to take the Bears in the points here, man. This is going to be a heavy underdog week for me, and I don't care. I'll go down with this shit, but I'm taking the Bears here. Tyson Bagent showed me something, man. They really did. And the Bears play hard. Last Bears game on the road, they won that game versus Washington. Now, I'm not saying that this team is as bad as Washington. They're not. Justin Herbert's a top 10 quarterback, but he's not been the Justin Herbert that I thought he would be. No Mike Williams security blanket. You got 2 mid tight ends. Austin Eckler ain't right. You saw it on Sunday. He ain't 100%. Joshua Kelly has been good for them. Okay, I'll give you that. And Keenan Allen has had a renaissance year. I'll give you all that. But is that enough to amount to 9.5? I'm sorry, man. You cannot be a 2-win team and lay 9.5 to anyone. I know the Bears are bad, but the Bears have also shown you that we're not tanking. The Bears in Arizona have shown you that we are just going to let whatever comes to us come to us. We're not tanking. We're going to play hard. Or else they would have laid down versus the Raiders in their building last week. I've seen the Bears win big games. I saw them beat the 49ers opening day last year. They have it in them to do this. And I think they stay close. Do I think that SoFi will be rocking? Yes, but it's going to be a lot of Bears fans there because they got no real home field advantage. That head coach is an absolute stiff. Get him out of there. The biggest problem with the Chargers, outside of the fact that San Diego screwed them, is you have the worst coach in the NFL. This guy is an absolute idiot. Get him out. And you would raise to some kind of prominence before Keenan Allen has to retire. But no, you guys kept this guy, and it'll be your Achilles heel all season long. You get rid of J.C. Jackson. I'm telling you, man, I see DJ Moore having a really good game here. Deonta Foreman is a nice find for the Bears. I watch this guy have 3 touchdown games all the time, out of nowhere, off the street. 9.5 in the Bears is the play. Take it and eat a dirty water dog.
I'm going to take the Chargers. I think that Raiders team, not a single player showed up, and I just think that this rookie quarterback is going to look a lot more vulnerable this week. As long as the Chargers come to play. The Raiders just didn't, and they do that. They do that at least a couple times a season, and that's what keeps them in that 7-win range every single year. I haven't seen a performance this bad from the Raiders since the Raiders played the Bears at home a couple of years ago after Henry Ruggs killed that girl. I mean, it's just what they do, and I don't think. Yeah, so I think the Bears are terrible. I think the Raiders are terrible too. So
I think the Chargers are terrible.
They are, but they can also score points. And the Raiders had plenty of opportunities to score points in this game that would have made it much closer. It's had some dumb turnovers. Everything about that game was just awful.
Brian Hoyer stinks. My God.
I'll take the Chargers at home. I don't think the Bears can string together 2 really good performances, especially with the Division II backup quarterback. He's going to look like a backup quarterback this week. I feel very confident about that.
We'll see. 9.5 is a lot. We are differing on a lot of games this week, and I love it. And I love it. And finally, Monday Night Football.
Oh, God.
Spencer's Las Vegas Raiders head to Detroit to take on 8 Mile and the Detroit Lions, who are -8. Don't ask me why, because I can't tell you. But just like last Monday, I see the underdog staying in this game. I'm not saying they're going to win it, but give me the Raiders +8. I just believe that the Raiders cannot play any worse than they played last week.
Literally.
Number 1. Number 2, Jimmy G is back. This is a different team when Jimmy G is under center. It puts Devontae Adams in such a better position. It puts Jacoby Myers in such a better position. It puts Josh Jacobs in such a better position. It puts Michael Mayer in a better position. They cannot play Raider football unless Jimmy G is under center. It's just how it is. I think that the Detroit defense, while good, while now getting their flowers for under the lights games, 8 is too much. Now I know they just got bullied, and they're licking their wounds, and they're going to be ready. They're going to be ready, but let's be honest. They're still banged up. Jahmyr Gibbs looked okay last week. Mandatory Montgomery is still out, okay? I don't know, man. The Jameson Williams experiment hasn't worked. Sam Laporte has been good. Goff has been good, but this is what I know about Goff. That play action has to be working for them to score big points. Amon-Ra St. Brown will eat. I smell the Raiders controlling the clock a lot in this game and keeping that offense on the other side of the field. No one's going to want to take the Raiders because they put on the worst performance last week. And they're going to be like, the Lions got blown out. They're going to come in here and they're going to murder. I don't think so, man. Something tells me that the Raiders are going to find them. I think Josh Jacobs is a big piece here on Monday. And I would bet my own money, and I don't like betting my own money on the Raiders, but I would bet my own money on that 8. Dude, these are big spreads.
That's big. That's a big number.
These are big spreads to lay under the lights. This is what I know, and Spencer knows this to be factual too. When you're the only game on TV, when you're the only game in town, guys play harder. People in China are watching you. You're the only – no, dude, You're the only game on TV. There's a couple things that are true in the betting world in football. 1, home dogs pay dividends. 2, guys play harder when they're the only game on TV. And so for these reasons, I'm going to take Vegas here, plus the 8. I'm going to take them with confidence too, man, and I love the Lions. But again, I just don't think they've taken that next step. They look very pedestrian versus Baltimore. Very pedestrian. They looked out of sorts. They look at some points of that game, and I watched a lot of that game, they looked like they didn't know what to do. Like literally had no answer, almost like Lawrence Taylor was on the other side of the field. They look like they didn't know what to do. And that tends for me to believe that a team that played really bad versus a team that played really bad, give me those points on the road.
Yeah, this just seems like the game that Jimmy G has his best game of the performance. I mean, this is what has defined his career. He starts off the season really badly, and then suddenly he starts getting into form. Those, he's never going to get like a huge game, like 400 yards, but those 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Josh Jacobs gets a touchdown. Boom, bada bing. You end up winning the football game. Jimmy G's not a world beater. It's just a fact. But the guy gets better as the season goes on. The reality is it's his first season here, too. And, Raider Nation is the worst fan base in the NFL, in my opinion. So I don't really like most of the fans. I think they're just reactionaries. Watch too much Stephen A. Smith. I think the Raiders can put together a good performance. Like I said last week, this is what the Raiders do. This is what has defined them for the past 20 years.
Everyone's
the
going to take
Raiders
the Lions.
have had a few bottom barrel seasons, in the past 20 years, but not that many. They really haven't. I mean, think about the Carson Palmer days, the Jason Campbell days. They're
7-win teams. The 8-win teams. They're never at the
top of the draft order. They just aren't very often. They were one time they got Jamarcus Russell. You know what I mean? So there's been just a few times where they've been really terrible, but otherwise they are 8-8, and it's because they lose these stupid games to the Bears. Always, it's just what it is. And the next week they seem to put together a much better performance. They literally can't play as bad as they did last week. Not a single player showed up. I wish I could tell you that it was because Brian Hoyer played, which I still agree was the best decision for that game, even though. This is also the worst part about sports analysis is just because something doesn't work out, that means like it was always the wrong choice. It wasn't. I think Brian Hoyer was the right choice to play that week, and it just didn't work out because nobody decided to play in that football game. Yeah. Devontae Adams bitched all week about not getting the ball, and he drops a touchdown in the end zone. I don't know. Everything about that game was cursed, and
they're going to play better.
They will. So I'm going to take them on the road. 8 points, I think, is just too much for
a team so
that
too.
Can't possibly plays bad with Jimmy G.
If it was 5 or 6, I'd probably take the Lions. Every time I bet the Lions at home, I lose. But just something tells me, man, Monday night is where you throw your balls on the table. You know what I mean? And I did it last week, and I look like a genius. And so I'm going to do it again here. Parting shots.
I hope the Raiders don't play as bad. I guess that's my parting thoughts. My final thoughts are always tied to the Raiders just because I'm such a dumb, diehard fan. And
you like who you like, bro. It is what it is. You're married to who you're married to. My parting shots are for the NFL and the referees. And I just got to say, man, we used to do a segment called Roast the Ref when we were in the studio. And if you guys go back on our YouTube page and look, you'll see how we used to just take apart these referees for their horrible calls. And I think we need to consider bringing that back if we could find the time to do it, Spencer, because what I have watched to date in the first 7 weeks of the National Football League has been absolutely egregious. I mean, to the point where, like, if Jesus came down from heaven and said, okay, I'm going to make every wrong call right, we'd have a completely different standings in the NFL because there are teams that are winning games because of bad calls. The Buffalo Bills, the last 2 weeks, have just absolutely mugged people, and none of these calls were made. The Philadelphia Eagles, there was a blatant face mask. There was blatant holes that turned into huge calls. The Kansas City Chiefs, all year long, these are ticky-tack fouls, and I get that Mahomes is the new Brady, but, man, if you don't call it all game, how are you going to call it at the end of the game? Come on. It's like WWE right now. We have to stop with this. I get that the NFL is entertainment. I understand that. But this is a sport that needs to be played, and it needs to be played with some kind of integrity, which I know the league does not have. And you refs need to start being fined for some of these poor performances. You should be really scrutinized heavily, and I know some of you are and pulled off games that you would end up being on, but this is out of control, man. It's bad. It's really, really, really bad. And I need you guys to stop. You're ruining the game.
like
there
some
has
sort
to be
of
some kind
digital
of
ref.
accountability. I mean, seriously, you're calling New York. They're eating hot dogs, not even paying attention. You're pointing this way when it should be this way. You don't even know what you're doing. And, like, literally, what does a guy have to do to have a pass interference flag thrown? And I know you're not going to throw it to end the game, but my goodness, Buffalo yesterday, Buffalo last week, the guys are getting mugged. You could have that should have been 1st and goal with 1 second on the clock for Tampa. And it should have been 1st and goal for Darren Waller in the end zone. I'm sorry, enough already. And I'll say this for my own team because the Chiefs get calls all the time. So I'm not some kind of homer. I'm talking about the league in general. The officiating has been worse than the Biden administration, and that is hard to do. We have to get this together. It's horrendous. And if you need a ref, call me because I'm ready, okay? Because this is insanity. I cannot take what you're doing to this league. Tackling a guy, tackle a quarterback, and it's freaking roughing the passer. My goodness. Bring back the NFL that I grew up on where guys were getting laid out if they ran over the middle. None of this, you brush past the guy, and it's 15 yards and a first down. I'm done with what's happening here in this league, and you guys better get it together, man. I'm sick of this. Roger Goodell, I can't stand you. And the owners love you because you line their pockets and you allow this nonsense to happen. Make it stop immediately. That's all I got. World of Matchups, week number 8. You guys enjoy the game. Spencer and I'll be back for week number 9. My blood is boiling over this. I get sick of this Roger Goodell NFL referee-led nonsense. You guys enjoy the games. I got to go to work. We'll see you next week.
See you.